Hello everyone, welcome to Chemi Friends. Now before we begin this video, I would like to tell you as to why I am doing this video. So until my high school, my major was into biology and I had no idea about computer science and its application in various forms of engineering. And fast forward into college where in subjects where mathematical modeling and simulation was involved, I lagged far behind my peers who already had an intuition as to how all this works. So that changed, and with enough practice, I believe you can do well with MATLAB as well. So if you have no idea about coding, no problem. We are all in the same boat. Everyone has to start somewhere, and MATLAB is a very simple language to learn. And let's begin.
I have clicked on the MATLAB icon, and this is the first thing that we see as soon as we open MATLAB. So there are three components as to the basic MATLAB environment. So the first part, if you can follow my cursor, is that it's a command window. So here we can write single line codes, and we can test what's the output, and usually whatever output that comes out from your script is usually displayed in the command window. The second part is the workspace. So if you save a variable and it gets reflected in the workspace. So for example, I assign a equals 1, we can see that it's reflected in the workspace, a equals 1. And finally, this is the current folder where whatever code that you save gets saved in this folder. So you can see the path of my current folder. It's in the C drive, and I have created a folder called MATLAB. So finally it gets saved here. Let's begin with the most basic of operations. So on MATLAB we can add. So I press enter. We can see the value comes as 1 plus 1 equals 2. We can subtract, we can multiply, and we can divide. Please note the symbols used for the operators. Alright, so for example, my command window is all crammed up and I want to clear the space. I can just type CLC and press enter, and you can see the command window is erased. So again I can type something such as a equals 1, and yeah, my command window is empty. Now again I have typed something, but you can note that even though I clear my command window, my workspace still contains the data which I had stored from the command window. So a equals 1 and the previous operation was done, is still present in the workspace. So in order to clear the workspace, we can just click on clear commands, or we can type clear all and press enter. So you can see that even the workspace data is deleted.
Okay, so now I hope that you are familiar with the MATLAB environment. MATLAB stands for Matrix Laboratory, and part of why this tool was developed was to become an efficient tool in manipulating matrices. So let's begin.
MATLAB is a powerful tool for manipulating matrices. So let's start with how to build matrices on MATLAB. So first let's begin with a row vector, or a row matrix. So we start with a square bracket. So we are assigning it to A, and we space it using a comma sign. So let's say we create a matrix with a row vector called 1 2 3 4, and you can see that we can create a row matrix. Now similarly, if we want to create a column matrix, we have to separate it by a semicolon. So I want b equals 1 semicolon 2 3 and 4. So you can see it creates a column matrix. So now let's get into more of how to manipulate between matrices, as we have all studied matrix in what, fifth standard. So we can see that I'll assign another C value and create another column matrix. So now we can add between matrices, subtract between matrices. We can now we can't multiply between these two matrices because as you can see we have both 4 comma 1 and 4 comma matrix. So matrix multiplication won't work. See, it will give an error because the dimensions of the matrix is not valid for matrix multiplication. However, what we can do is that if we want it to be multiplied column wise, or we want a dot product between these two matrices, what we can do is we can do b dot star. Okay, remember this, b dot star into c. So as you can see that b equals 1 2 3 4 and c equals 3 4 5 6, and the product, the element by element product is the given answer. Okay, so it's all crammed up, so we will clear the commands, but you can still see my matrices are saved in the workspace. So now we will try to do an inverse of a matrix. So we can write another matrix d variable. So we are saving it in d as a dash. So this will transpose the matrix. So yeah, a equals 1 2 3 4, which is a row matrix, and d becomes 1 2 3 4 column matrix. Another thing that we can do is say now we can create a multi-dimensional matrix. So I'm saving it in the form of e equals 1 2 3 and spacing it with a semicolon. So I'm telling MATLAB to start a new row after the semicolon. Alright, so I'm creating 6 3 2, say, and another semicolon. I want to create a 3 by 3 matrix. Alright, so 10 8 11, right? So as you can see, this is a 3 by 3 matrix, and the numbers separated by the comma are in the same row, and when I ask it to create a new row using a semicolon, so this is the output, right? We can also find inverse of a matrix. So for example, I want inv of e. So we get the inverse of the matrix E. INV is a function which is defined by MATLAB. It is a library function. So you can use INV to find the inverse of the matrix E. Now another thing that we can do is again, I want to find the transpose of E. I can do E dash, and you can see that the new transpose of matrix E is formed. Okay, so let's clear the command window again. So do okay, and we'll take the example of the A matrix, and the rather we'll take the example of B matrix and C matrix. All right, so what we can do between these two matrices is that we can see whether B is greater than C. Let's see what happens when that occurs. So we can see all the values are 0. So this is a logical array because when we ask whether B is greater than C, it compares row by row in the same column. So it asks whether B is greater than C, is 1 greater than 3, is 2 greater than 4. So according to the Boolean expression, true is 1 and false is 0. So we know that it's all false here, and it's 0 0 0 0 here. So this is the final answer. And you may ask, I mean, it's so silly. It's just we can just see that visually, right? Why are we doing it all over again? But you might come across data with millions and millions of values, and this logical array is quite useful while evaluating them. Okay, so let's write another 3 by 3 matrix, which is A equals this. And I might not have said this before, but if you use a semicolon at the end of your command, your output gets suppressed. So for example, I press enter now. I don't get any values as such below my command, but as you can see in the workspace, the variable name A is saved as the same values in our matrix. So for example, if I use the up button, I can access my previous commands and remove my semicolon. You can see that the output gives the same 3 by 3 matrix which I had inputted in the previous command. Now the next thing which we can speak about is called as indexing. So for example, I want to retrieve second row and second column. I can just write a round bracket 2 comma 2. All right, let's see what value we get. So we get 9. So you can see that 9 is in the second row and second column. Now another thing which I want to say is whatever your latest command is, its output as well gets saved in your workspace. So in this case, a answer equals 9 because our latest value is 9. So for example, I change it to a 1 comma 2, which is the first row and the second column. You can see answer equals 2 and the answer in the workspace gets replaced with the value of 2. It was 9 previously. All right, so the next thing I want to say is we can use a colon, and so while indexing a colon, what I'm trying to say is a is 2 comma 1. I want all the values in the row in the first column. So what happens is I get 1, 8 and 4. So in the first column I have got all the row values, right? And similarly, if I want all the column values in row 1, you get 1, 2 and 3, which is true in this case. So for example, I have a really big matrix and I want to find the last value of say the column. All right, I want to find the last column of matrix B, matrix A rather. So I will write A end, which is the end of the row. This is a convention followed in MATLAB. So end comma 2, right? End comma 3. So what we will get is that we will get the last row and the first and the third column. So we have end, which is the last row in A, and the third column. So I have 1. So we get this answer. All right. So that's about it for matrix. We will speak about further things in the next. Okay, so we are ready to write our first code. So we click on new script where we'll be writing our code, and it's a tradition to write hello world for our first program. So let's first write display, and it says hello world. All right, so we'll save it as our first program and we save it. Okay, I had already made one. So now we run. So as you can see, we have made our first output called as hello world. So now we'll move on to conditional statements. So as I've already said that conditional statements help you create your own logic into the code, and there might be several instances where you will be using this code as we'll be seeing in coming weeks. So let me just give you an example of what I'm speaking about. So conditional statements are also called as if else statements. So for example, I'll write a variable as 6, and I will write if a is greater than 6, will print, rather will display a is greater than 6, and obviously the other alternative will be that else will type a is less than 6. All right, and the conditional statement should end with an end. So this completes one particular conditional. So I have said that a is greater than 6, a equals to 6, and if a is greater than 6, we display a is greater than 6, and if it's less than 6, we display a is less than 6. I think greater than or equal to is a better way of writing it because it might get confused, who knows. So we click run, and the first program will run, and you can see that a is greater than or equal to 6. So this gets printed. So this is a very basic of how to use a conditional statement. We might use this later on in a more detailed manner, and this is a very rudimentary thing, and we will move on to the next topic.
I hope you understood the basics of matrix manipulation. These are especially important in optimization and machine learning algorithms. Now we will learn about how to implement loops, and I would like to underscore the importance of loops because it's especially important in functions requiring multiple iterations. So let's begin loops.
Let's start with this loop called as a definite loop. So it's also called as the for loop. So the best way to explain this will be through an example. So we will start with a vector called as a 1 2 3 4 5. All right, and I want to find whether I want to print each element of this vector, for example. So I do for I equals 1 to 5. All right, and the size of matrix A is 1 comma 5. So what I'll do is I will display A 1 comma I. So through this, what I am trying to do is I am trying to display A 1 comma I is the indexing variable, and when I run it, so what will happen is it will display each and every element of matrix A. So how the code runs is that first we are assigning values to A. So A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the next step what the for loop tells MATLAB is that first I want to assign the value of I equal to 1. So then it goes down and it displays a 1 comma I, which is equal to 1. So it displays 1 comma 1. So we get the output, and then after it reaches down it sees, oh, I still need to reach the value up to 5. So the next step will be that I will be assigned the value of 2. So when I go to display, it will be a 1 comma 2, and the second variable is the second value of a is displayed, and so on. So as we can see, all the variables of phi are displayed. So let's change it to 1 comma 3. Okay, let's see what happens then. So when I run 1 comma 3, you can see that the first three elements of a is being displayed, and that's a most basic way of how I can explain the for loop. So the second, there are two types of loops, which is for loop and while loop. So we will look into how a while loop works. So we'll again go through an example and then understand how the while loop works. So we will give while I is less than or equal to 3, we will display the same thing, but in addition to this we will also do I equals I plus 1. So we will be updating I through each loop, and we will understand how what's going on here. So I'll assign I equals 1. So post for loop, the after the for loop ends, our I value will be equal to 3, right? So what we are doing here is we are updating the I value. Also, I think comments are a great way of reminding you of why you did that particular step. And to write a comment in MATLAB, you just write percentage sign, and you can write the reason or whatever. It's very helpful when multiple people are you like trying to develop a code together. And I always use the comments personally. So we are telling the while loop that I is while it's less than or equal to 3, you need to display a of I. So a is the index of I is the index of a, and we are updating I equal to I plus 1. So in the first loop, let's see what happens. So I equals 1, and the while loop goes, is I less than 3? It says, yeah, I is less than 3. I is equal to 1 currently. So it will display the loop output as ai. Okay, and then we are updating the value I equals I plus 1. So I we are updating it by saying I equals 1, plus 1. So the previous value of I is 1, and subsequently when we update it, it becomes 1 plus 1. And in the next loop, what happens is the current value of I will be 2 because of the previous updating. So I will become 3. And when it reaches 3, the while loop says, hey, I must be less than or equal to 3, and hence I will break this loop. So let's see what happens. So we can write while loop output to see what happens in the while loop, and for loop output to see what's going on. We'll just know what happens. Okay, so I will run it, and what we'll get in the output is that for loop we get 1, 2 and 3, and similarly for while loop we are getting 1, 2 and 3. So all in all, both of these loops are doing the same thing, but in practice we use it for completely different purposes. We will be learning this in subsequent weeks to come.
Okay, so functions are used when you don't want to repeat the same thing over and over again. So for example, you're taking an input and you want to square it and you want to multiply it into some other input. I mean, if you want to do it once or twice, it's okay. But if you want to do it hundreds of times, it's best to use a function. So let's learn how to make a function.
Okay, so time to create our first function. So let's start by clicking on new script, and the keyword for this is to write function first. Alright, so we'll write function, and we'll call this function, say, add power. So while calling this new function, we'll say add power of something, and we'll call the argument a. So what we'll do is b equals a square. So when we take in a, what will happen is b will be assigned a value of a square plus 5. Okay, and in order to use this for matrices, perhaps later on, we'll just add a dot and we'll write end. So this is the end of the function, and we'll write output b equals add power of a. Okay, so we'll need to save this first, and it should be called as add power as well. So if the file name and the function name are not matching, the code won't run. So we'll write add power of 2. Okay, and we got 9. So 2 square is 4 plus 5 is equal to 9. So let's see what happens if we make an array, say x equals 1 is to. Okay, so if I make an array of 1 is to 7, what will happen is it will be spaced by 1. So x will be equal to an array of 1 to 7. And if I want to create an array of, say, spacing of 1.5, what we'll do is put 0.5 in between this, and 1 to 0.5 is to 7. Okay, and we'll get that answer. So what I'll do is apply add power to this array. Let's see what happens then. So we'll get an array of different values, since the function will be applied to each and every value of 1, 1.5 and so on to 7. So in order to, we can also plot this output. So let's say plot of x, rather plot of x, and the output add power x. So we can see, so this convention R is used to show that I want red color, and I want it to be separated by a star. We'll see that in the output, and let's see what happens. Oh, okay, so the plot appeared. So you can see in the x-axis we have the values of x, which is ranging from 1 to 7, and in the y-axis we have the value of the function, which is add power of x. So this is how you create a function and plot it. We can also take in multiple arguments of x. A great place to learn about MATLAB and its inbuilt functions is to look into the MATLAB documentation, which is in the help button. So when you click on the help button, so we can see this documentation section, and if you have any doubt in some function, say sine function, and how this inbuilt function works, you can click on this and see what arguments are required within the function, and how it's to be implemented, etc. So it's very helpful. Another great place to look at the documentation is the MathWorks website, where you can click on documentation and search for functions that you don't know about, and there is a large support group of people who can even answer your question if you have any doubts.
Throughout the video, I have skipped a few things like matrix concatenation, else if statements, as well as adding legends and axis titles to plots. Using all the accumulated knowledge from this tutorial, here is a problem for you. Well, I hope you found this tutorial interesting and helpful, and you can subscribe to our channel somewhere over here and you know watch our latest videos somewhere here over here. Thank you. Bye.